it does not null and void the verdict. So the argument that the evidence is somehow tainted because there was not cross-examination is an argument in folly, and indeed is an argument against the free will of the Constitution and the people who could have appeared to defend themselves. I'd like to also inform you that there will be a Q&A section, a question and answer segment after Captain Neil Turner has had his remarks regarding the strength of the Constitution and why this trial should be upheld and respected by all American people. I want, as you go through the transcript, and it will take you some time to do so, you to consider what is happening at present to our nation. You have elected a man, and I will state and pray that you will agree, based simply on his race. We have to go beyond that. If those who are appeared to be or alleged to have been oppressed because of the color of their skin, if we continue to make that the focal point of all our deliberations and the reason for our decisions, that a good and a just man with the wrong color can't get through the front door, but an evil and a wicked man, because of a color that has favor or is publicly being praised at the present moment, albeit an evil man, is allowed to walk through because of his race. You and I know, and whether you're willing to agree with me, let your conscience be your own guide. But you and I know that were Mr. Obama a white man, or even a Republican white man for that matter, with the kind of baggage he had with his association with Jeremiah Wright and his association with William Ayers, his close affinity to Islam, and the questions about his birth certificate and where he was born, and those kinds of questions would have disqualified a white man in a heartbeat. And should those questions or those statements be unearthed after the fact, then he would have been in prison even without a trial if he were white, indicating that, well, if you are black, somehow or another, affirmative action, you're allowed to be more of a criminal than you are. You're held to a lower standard than would be the white man. My friend, I'm appalled at that. I think all men should be held to the same standard of the law. This transcript, it's going to make for some very interesting reading. The testimony, my friends, contained in these pages is unequivocal evidence that Mr. Obama did not attend Columbia University. It's irrefutable. He was never there. He was just never there. Might I add that this information and the trial was prompted by a visit to my office by the CIA, members of the local police department right here in New York City, the 28th Precinct. Indeed, the community affairs officer that walked into my office on the 16th of November at 6:10 in the evening. When they came into my office, I recognized immediately the precinct community affairs director, for we had worked together on projects. But the CIA operatives that were agents that came and questioned me about my statements regarding Mr. Obama. And 2 days later, I received a phone call that was verified by the strength of those that had been in the office, of one who identified himself without name, but that he also was a CIA agent, and informed me that my life had been placed under the contract to be removed from this earth. But the contractor refused to carry out that act or that command. And it was upon that I was then informed that Mr. Obama was indeed a CIA operative who worked during the Russian-Soviet invasion into Afghanistan in the year 1979. And through the years of the early 80s, Mr. Obama was there for 4 years, helping with logistics, the acquisition of arms to fight off the Soviet invasion, and the sale of drugs. As you are aware, Afghanistan is a major drug supply of heroin to the nations of the world. Obama was instrumental in that process. And that Columbia University gave him cover, inasmuch as that had he remained at Occidental or had not had an excuse for leaving Occidental College in Los Angeles, many questions would have been raised by a large number of people that knew him there in Occidental. We have demonstrated this, along with Senate Resolution 511, which unequivocally demonstrates that the Congress should have never allowed Mr. Obama to run for presidency because it was a question about then his opponent, Senator John McCain's natural-born status, as he was born, not natural-born, in the state of Panama, and not on the Panama Canal Zone military installation, but in a Panama hospital which was outside of the zone. Mr. John McCain could not be the U.S. president either. He was not natural born. So the Senate got together and put together a resolution called 511. All of that is contained here in this transcript. It was voted on at the time by then Senator Hillary Clinton, John McCain, and also at the time Senator Barack Obama, because they were clear that without that resolution affirming Mr. McCain's citizenship, he was disqualified. I need to note, and you will discover, that this trial was able to reveal that Senate Resolution 511 was not binding. It was not passed by the House. It was simply the good old boys at it again, trying to protect one of their own. The question, however, remains, what about Mr. Obama? He is not natural born. Why was not some sort of Senate resolution written or drawn up about him? And the reason why was they wanted to omit that truth and proceed right to the presidency, thinking perhaps John McCain would win. I can't read their minds, but I can say this, that neither one of them qualified to be the president. We have got documented testimony, witnesses, eyewitnesses. We've had people do research. We spent a goodly number of months going over and poring over the archives and the documents. And we have concluded that this trial was fair. And I believe you will conclude the exact same thing at the conclusion or at the ending of the reading. 17 counts Mr. Obama was found guilty of. I want to further state that America, having elected Mr. Barack Hussein Obama, and prior to such an election, America has lost her sense of adventure, her sense of expansion, her sense of growth, and discovering new frontiers. The recent collapse and the closing of the space program is an empirical witness to that fact, that we as Americans have fallen into a morass of complacency, and we're no longer the great nation of adventure and expansion that we were going back as much as 50 years ago, and certainly as much as 100 years ago. And what has taken place is a sense of morass regarding what we are, and no longer do we have the strength to climb higher mountains. I am presenting this transcript, and I conducted the trial because I still believe in the greatness of America. I believe that America's days, great days, are ahead of her, that there's still mountains to be climbed and rivers to be forded and great things to be accomplished by this nation. But we must first cleanse ourselves of the sins we have committed. We have fallen short of the glory of God. We need to find ourselves as Americans back under the admonition of 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. A call to all men, black and white, all women, young and old, all children, all participants in this great republic, to repent and to look to God and to call upon him. And he will forgive our sins, and he will heal our land of the racial strife, of the economic dilemmas that we have, of the substandards that we have in terms of our education system, the fact that China now owns us, lock, stock, and barrel, or the fact that we have all of these cabals running around from the Illuminatis, the Bilderbergs, and others who are pulling the strings on those who are but puppets that sit in our congressional halls and pontificate and lawbreak all day long. And finally, if we're not able to come to an amicable, if you must, reasonable way of dealing with Mr. Obama, that he might be fully imprisoned and that those who were supportive of the conspiracy likewise be imprisoned, then I need to say to you that revolution is not a dirty word. I remember in my early days in elementary school and high school, we were proud to say the word revolution, and the revolution that took place in this nation, the 4th of July and the chasing of King George and Cornwallis, and those were great days of studying American history. And I say to all Americans, if we cannot resolve this, and that the media, and that the Congress, and that the courts look carefully at this transcript and imprison Mr. Obama, then revolution to change this nation under what Thomas Jefferson has said, that at any point in time when we find ourselves in a government that will not hear us and will not respond to us, it is our constitutional duty to overthrow that government. Constitutionally, we the people must rise up and reclaim the spirit of revolution in our nation. Finally, I want to say thank you to all of the patriots, and a special thank you to Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin, presently jailed and under court-martial proceedings at present because he has determined that Barack Hussein Obama is not eligible to send him off to war nor command him. And there are law cases that demonstrates that a commander-in-chief must have the authority, as the soldier swears to uphold the Constitution. Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin is doing just that, and our government is railroading him. And the American media, the American people, and all of those who are clamoring about religious liberty and wearing high-buckled shoes and three-cornered hats and waving the "Don't Tread on Me" flag will not lift their hands nor their voice to help Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakin. He's my hero. And I certainly want to acknowledge him today and offer and ask you that you might pray for him. Finally, all of the patriots across America that are continuing to stand on the birth certificate issue. Don't get weary, children. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't allow what the media has done and others who used to be birthers, who have turned on you and called you names that are beneath your character or the character of the patriots and the patriotism for which you continue to stand tall. Remember the old proverb that truth is on the scaffold and injustice is on the throne, but truth sways the future. It goes something like that in the hearts of those of us who will one day be vindicated. Stand strong, stand tall, don't quit. We're just beginning to fight the good fight of faith. And those who participated in the trial, the jurors, the witnesses, the bailiff, the great members of the Outlaw World Missionary Church that opened the house and made it presentable, I could never thank you enough. I could never thank you enough. The staff members and all the praying mothers and praying elders of this great church, I could never thank you enough. And I'm confident that Jesus will indeed pay you what is right. Those of you who have listened, thank you so very much for hearing my comments. Now, if we have Captain Neil Turner, who served in the U.S. military as an aviator for 7 years and resigned from the military, if we have him online at present, I would want that he would speak to the judicial authority constitutional statements regarding the conducting of this trial And then afterwards, should there be any, we will be open for questions